Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. The discourse today, the subject of the discourse today is the 7 stages of spiritual purification. We have to make a certain distinction between religion and spirituality. The language used in religious circles or with reference to religion or religious philosophies is that of ceremonies, rites, rituals and festivals, all sorts of external practices, then going to pilgrimages and pujas of all kinds. Now these are the various attributes of religious practice. But when it comes to spirituality, we don't have these languages, we don't have these terms to explain what exactly is meant by spiritual development or spiritual perfection. The language used here, just 2 words, that's all. One is that of purification and the other is that of perfection. In the last discourse we mentioned the difference between the two, or the distinctiveness between the two, the conceptual distinctiveness. Now, I will repeat it again, once again. Purification refers to a process where, you see, you can't take things out anymore, from which you can't take things out anymore. It is so pure, cleansed, refined. There is no dirt, no filth, no impurity whatsoever to be removed. It's all cleaned up. It's all purified. It's cleansed. There is nothing impure or wrong remaining to be removed. So no subtraction whatsoever. Now, with reference to perfection, the idea, actually the core idea is the same, but the expressions are slightly different. Here, you can't add any more. In purification, you can't take out any more from it, and in perfection, you can't add anything more into it because it's fully purified. It's absolutely, totally, developed, perfected, and it has reached its consummation, so to say, state of perfection. Now, this too is a process. So, when we talk of spirituality, we are talking in terms of purification and perfection and development. And not in terms of various festivals and functions and rites and rituals and pilgrimages, and all these things are necessary. Because we live in a world which is basically imperfect, basically impure. Now you take your breakfast in the morning. In about a few hours' time, the whole thing is burnt up inside and you are hungry again. What does that mean? This metabolism, the metabolic process is combustion, it is a chemical process by which you burn up the food material that has gone in and then reduce it to the fundamental, you see, the elements which the food represents. Like now in modern terms, you will say vitamin or protein or carbohydrate and all these different names and terms that you use. So now that is what, while this metabolic process, you are also creating a huge amount of impurity and a huge amount of, you see, dirt and filth, which needs to be ejected out of the system. So there is a process of decay going all the time at the bodily level, and a process of defilement all the time at the mental level. All thinking starts with I. I am this, I am that, this is mine, that's mine. Sense of belonging, sense of possession. The reality, however, is very different. Everything is constantly changing. There is a dynamic change that is going on all the time, at both at physical, at the bodily level and at the mental level. So this change, which is inborn and inherent in a state of existence, so long one lives, one is in a state of existence. And this state of existence is dynamic. It is not static, that is just it exists and prevails. No. It is moving constantly. So in this dynamic state, in this motion, there is the impurity, there is the decay, there is the decomposition at the bodily level, and also impurification. Impurification, that is the term of the mind. Because the very whole thing starts, the mental activity starts with I-ness and mine-ness. And sense of belonging, sense of possession and wanting all the time. Wanting this, wanting that, coveting this, coveting that. You may have a lot of things, you really don't need anything at all. But because your friends or your relatives or your colleagues and others keep on having things, you too must follow suit. If you don't, then you are a pariah, you are outcast, so to say, in a circle of friends and all that. You are defiant or you are non-conventional and all that sort of thing, and so you are rejected. So the deep sense of belonging, that I should be acceptable, accepted all the time, to be accepted by the society, by the world, by this, by that. These are profoundly ingrained traits in the human mind. And these traits, you see, condition the mind in such a way that the mind gets defiled. You see, all kinds of negative things come in all the time. So in spirituality, therefore, we have to understand very clearly that it's a process of purification, because a similar process is on. It's an ongoing process of impurification. Just as at the bodily level, so your body gets decayed, or from moment to moment it is just decomposing, aging. The baby, just an hour old baby, even the baby's body decomposes. Now that is the nature of existence. Anicca, impermanence, instability, therefore unpredictable. That is the nature of body and mind and life itself. So here in spirituality, your language will have to be different, your concepts will have to be different, and your thinking will have to be different. Because what you think as a mental action gets translated into verbal action, speech. What you think, that you speak. Thinking basically is verbalization. You talk to yourself, that is thinking. And as you talk to yourself, you verbalize, and then that process ends up in actual speech. So verbalization, which is a mental factor, now gets translated into a physical, bodily factor called speech. Sound, it is translated into sound. And the sound acquires meaning. You name everything with sound and give meaning to it. And so on, you see, from mental action to verbal action to bodily action gets translated into that. So these threefold actions, which are, you see, the volitional activity, they are intrinsic nature of the mind. They are going on all the time. So when you are caught up in this volitional activity, starts with mental volitional activity, mano sanchetana, then gets translated into verbal and mental. So this action is again something that is inseparable from mental activity or consciousness or mind. What we call mind or consciousness gets translated into action. And action is potent. It has got power to produce a certain result. So what was originally just a mental state of consciousness or mind, now it turns into actions. First of all, mental action, thinking, etc. And then verbal and bodily action. And the action acquires, you see, action acquires power in this way. And action is nothing but volition, will to do. Chetanahang bhikkhave kammang vadami. Monks, I call kamma, action, I call chetana, that is volition or will or intention. as action. And the volition or will or intention is a mental factor. So you start with a mental factor to act. So the mind, what we call mind, gets translated into action. And that is happening from morning till night. You get up in the morning, the first thing you open your eyes, you are aware of the world. This awareness itself triggers activity. You go, you get up, after waking up, you get up, that's your bodily action. Then go and have a wash and this, that, one thing and another, one after the other. Either bodily action or verbal action or mental action going on, that process again, whole day. And these activities, you see, being charged with a power, with potency, they produce result here and now in this very from day-to-day life as well as hereafter. Where not all actions are producing results simultaneously. No. Actions are connected with time factor. It takes time to produce result. So once it happened, this activity and the action and its result being experienced constantly, as it goes on, and that is life. So in activity also signifies either it makes the mind pure or it makes the mind impure. Every action is motivated, and that is driven by certain mental factor. Every action has what is called root, mula. Now, action can be ultimately reduced to two distinct, very distinct and different categories. One is wholesome action, the other is unwholesome action. Wholesome actions are those that which is good, skillful, meritorious, that which brings good fortune, that which brings happiness, that which enables the mind to grow further, to make progress, to get purified, to get perfected. The unwholesome, per contra, is the opposite. It defiles the mind, weakens the mind, debilitates the mind, makes it more and more negative and poisonous. And the results are therefore very, is full of suffering and pain and trouble and worry, all kinds of miseries of existence from these impure actions, defiled actions. So now these actions and their results, you see, happiness, misery, etc., that characterize life. So on one hand you are having impurification of the mind and the actions, and you see these the motivations which are unwholesome produce impure results and great misery and suffering, etc. And the purification, the very opposite, brings happiness, development, perfection, purity, etc. So spiritual life is dynamic action, action rooted, not just concept. You don't talk about the goal of spiritual life is freedom. Very good. What does that freedom mean? Freedom of what? Every seeker of truth must face these problems squarely and not run away and take shelter behind words which mean nothing. You say, oh, Ananda is the ultimate, etc. No, that can be just feeling, ordinary feeling. So, to achieve something spiritual, it has to be very definite, clear and truthful. That is based on truth and reality. So, now this seven-stage purification, you see, this is the subject we have been discussing based on Sutta, you see, Rathavinita Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya. And it is a 7-step spiritual purification. And what are those? Since life is centered around action, action is the core element of life. Good or bad or neutral action. That being the case, so the purification therefore starts with action. So there is the purification of Shila Vishuddhi, the purification of virtuous conduct, virtue or moral purification, morality. Morality deals with good and bad, proper and improper, wholesome and unwholesome. The nature of an action. So, when the purification, life itself being, you see, rooted in action, purification